Hello, everyone. It's Mark Schultz here, and we are here again for another edition of Blockchain in Aviation. Wanted to welcome you to our series. We're here in week 2 of our series on blockchain and aviation. Last week, we covered some fundamentals, and we talked about different terminologies and things. And starting week 2, we're getting into some more details. We're going to be talking about air navigation services. We'll be covering customer service and blockchain. And then at the end of the week on Friday, we're going to be covering NFTs and crypto in aviation. You are really not going to want to miss this. Hey, I'm going to bring in my co-host here real quick. And my co-host with me today is Gabriel Schultz. Gabriel, how are you today?
How's it going? I'm doing well.
Good. Excellent. Hey, I know that we have new people that join us every single time, and not everybody knows who everybody is. And so I was just wondering if you could just quickly tell everybody who you are and what do you do, please.
I'll just real quick for all the new people. So I've been doing new business development at DigitalAircraft for the past couple of years, along as well as some sales and marketing for the company as well. Also have been looking into technical analysis and of different cryptocurrencies, and have been doing a lot of research on blockchain for the past couple of years as well. So
excellent.
I'm glad to talk about it.
I asked Gabe to join us because we need some young blood here in the broadcast, especially when we're talking about crypto and blockchain and different things like that. So, hey, we're really looking forward to this today. And I have a special guest with us today. That's what I'm trying to do. As we go forward in our broadcast, each time, we actually have this broadcast right now on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we're covering the benefits of Web3 and blockchain and NFTs and crypto and security, plus lots more. And we're doing that on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 12 Eastern Time and 1600 GMT. And I want to welcome you to join us at those times. And one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to bring in more and more detail and technical expertise. I've had all kinds of people reaching out to me and saying, can you get down in deeper? But hey, one of the challenges that I have is we have people that are new to blockchain and people that are, detailed technical experts. And so we're trying to do a combination of each. This week, I'm bringing in 3 detailed experts on blockchain. And at the same time, we'll continue to try to bring in terminology and things to help you to understand blockchain and what it really means. Let me jump in by bringing in our guest here today. And hi, Arman. How are you today? Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Arman, where are you located? Where are you coming from today?
Yeah, I'm in Dubai currently. Yeah, and
Okay,
the weather here it's very hot nowadays.
Yeah, it is. They're talking about how hot it is in the UK today, and I'm very sympathetic to people because they don't have air conditioning and things like that. But in the UAE, it's really hot all the time. Well, in the summertime it is, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Well, hey, listen, I wonder if you could just for a moment help our viewers understand who you are and what do you do. It really helps us kind of kick things off.
Yeah, my name is Arman Sabir, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I work for Dubai Navigation Services as first-time simulation specialist.
Yeah, perfect. Very good. So what is Dubai? Air Navigation Services? Yeah.
Dubai Navigation Services, basically it handles Dubai air movement, like air traffic, whatever comes inside in Dubai air traffic, whether it's Boeing aircrafts or any type of air movement, we manage that. Plus we also manage Dubai airport traffic as well. So we whatever on airport, any traffic movement happens, we manage that as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, this should be a good conversation today because I know everybody's interested in aviation, of course, and data and its publishing. And so we're going to mix together some discussions today about the aviation industry, about blockchain, and about what some people are doing in the industry. And we brought in Arman as a subject matter expert on this topic to help us out. Hey, listen, as I get going, I always like to ask people to let me know where you're watching from. It's always really very interesting. And so the first thing I do is I ask you, could you possibly help us in this broadcast? And could you share this live stream? It makes a really big difference. We can reach a lot more people. We're really trying to reach people and keep this conversation about blockchain and aviation going. So if you could share it, I would appreciate it. And then also, it's always a lot of fun for people just in that comment box down there. Just let me know where you're watching from, and we'll give you a little shout out in a minute here when the when the comments start rolling in, we will put your name and location up on the screen. So if you want your couple of seconds of fame, put a comment down there and tell me where you're watching from. All right, while we're waiting on that, let's just sort of kick a couple of things off. Arman, it's always very interesting for people watching to know a little bit about your background. And I wonder if you could just take a minute to tell people just a little bit about sort of your journey. What got you involved in aviation and then involved in blockchain, and what's your background in that area? I think it would really help people to understand that a little bit.
Well, I started with as a software engineer. So after that, when I joined General Civil Aviation back in 7 years before, when I started there, I had like a passion to learn more about aviation and in-depth concept within the aviation, how it works and how air traffic movement control has been controlled and all that. I step into the aviation, and after that, while working in the aviation, because I had a software background as well, plus I learned aviation as well. So I got a chance to learn about blockchain, because that time blockchain was a new, like in 2014-15, everyone was thinking whether can we apply blockchain or not. So I learned, I took some couple of courses on it, and then I got deeper understanding what blockchain is and how it can help aviation also to apply. And so things move on, and I learn more and more about blockchain plus aviation as well.
Yeah, and Arman, how long have you been looking at blockchain technology?
It's roughly 6+ years.
6+ years. Okay, very good. So for those of you watching, Arman, he's a software engineer and has a background in development and data, and has learned blockchain, in the last 6 years. I wanted to ask you this: is it in your title? It said certified blockchain engineer. Can you tell me, what do you have to do to become a certified, blockchain engineer? What does that really mean?
Actually, from Blockchain Council, I write one exam, and then I got certification from Blockchain Council as a blockchain specialist.
Okay, blockchain specialist. All right. Okay, very good. Hey, listen, we've had some people that I know joining us from around the broadcast, and we'll just make a quick shout out to them. I see we have Kieran Prakash here. Kieran, he works for a company that has a very amazing blockchain-based supply, logistics, and warranty kind of solution. Kieran, thanks for joining us. And then we have a regular over the last week here. We have Rena joining us from Toronto. Rena, thanks for joining us again. And she's given us some very interesting questions in the past. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And then we have Arturs, who's actually going to be a guest on Friday. And he's with airBaltic. And it's going to be a very interesting session because it's a real world discussion about crypto and NFTs. And it's really interesting because they've been using cryptocurrency since 2014, and now they're publishing NFTs. And by the way, the reason I said NTFs is because there's a term in the aviation industry called no trouble found. And so it gets you confusing when you say NFT and NTFs. So forgive me if I say no trouble found instead of non-fungible token. So very good. So we're looking forward to that. And then we also have a visitor from Seagate Technology in Shakopee, Minnesota. Very interesting. I hear that Seagate's been looking at blockchain technology. I'm hoping to be able to hear from them in the future and what they're doing. And then we also have Shivam joining us from India. And it's always just really interesting to see people from all over the world. And thanks for checking in. It's good to know where people are watching from and what they're currently doing. So hey, let's dig into the conversation a little bit more. So Arman, I understand that at one point in time that you were looking at blockchain, and you might not be looking at, let me not put words in your mouth. Is that I know you were looking at blockchain some time ago, and so I wonder if you could tell us about what you were looking at, and then what you currently do with data at Dubai Air Navigation Services. And we want to try to connect those two things. So if you could just start out there and kind of help us understand a little bit about the history there, it'd be good.
Yeah. See, even from I can say it's from the day one, the biggest challenge is data. We are getting data, or other companies, let's say, they are getting data, but the issue is whenever we need to share the data across multiple departments or across multiple stakeholders, then the actual challenge comes, because arranging the data, sorting the data, defining permissions, roles, regulations. So that's like a big challenge, and it's always ended up with many issues. So getting the data and then arranging it to be a reliable and secure way, that's the biggest challenge. So blockchain is a key way, I believe, to fix these issues or these things.
So let me ask you this: is that what type of data is it that you are gathering and publishing?
Actually, we are gathering all air traffic movement. Like if let's say Emirates arrive, so it's all points wherever taxiway points and all whatever. It's like it's a little bit technical terms in aviation. So whenever any flight comes, they're all points, like the routes, how flight came. We record that information, so that's stored in the data in the form of data with us. So we arrange it, and if any like airline is requesting that data, then we prepare that as per how, like in the format how they want, and then we share that data manually to them.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So important that we have access to that data and to be able to use it within our different systems. And so let me just ask you one question, that I'm going to throw something over to Gabriel here. Is this a private entity or is this a government entity, Dubai Air Navigation Services?
Dubai Air Navigation Services is a government entity.
Okay,
basically it's like a helping entity who helps Dubai Airport and air traffic within the Dubai.
Okay, very good, very good. Hey, by the way, which airport are you located nearest to?
Al Maktoum International Airport.
Okay, excellent. All right, okay. Hey, Gabe, I wonder if you could help me a little bit in digging into the blockchain part of this, because I know that he had said that they were looking at, blockchain in the past, and maybe you could help me with some of the appropriate questions to ask him about maybe the history of it and what they're doing and what they're thinking about in the future, maybe.
Yeah, one thing that I was curious to ask is, in that hypothetical situation where you guys were to implement or to publish to the blockchain, which sort of blockchain would you be using? Would it be a private? Would it be public? Would you be publishing to some sort of consortium, or what would the plan be for that?
Actually, we did some like quick feasibility, and because we had three options to go with. One is public blockchain. Second, we can go with the private blockchain. A third is consortium, like a hybrid blockchain. So we did feasibility on all three, and we thought if we go with the hybrid blockchain, that can give us more leverage, because if you go with the public blockchain, it's like data and mining and every like rules and regulation will go to the community completely. And if you go with the hybrid, it's like some part of that mining thing, it will be with us as well. So we can control some way. If we need something to be changed, if we need something to be improved in the future, we can do that. So that's why we prefer to go with the hybrid blockchain. But still, it's not yet decided. We are still on a preparing feasibility and working on that.
Hey, Gabe, we have a lot of people that watch that. Well, first of all, I know we have people that are deep technically, because I've had some people, including Arman, who have said, hey, I'd like to teach some of this stuff more in depth. And so we definitely have people that are subject matter experts that understand this stuff. But we also have people that don't understand this. And when you bring up terms like public blockchain and private blockchain and consortium, I'm not certain that people all accurately understand what that really means. I mean, Gabe, maybe you guys could dig a little bit more into that and help us understand that.
Right. Well, like Arman was saying, they're going to be using the hybrid blockchain, but the public blockchain, everything is going to be published to the blockchain. Like if it was Ethereum, all the data on the blockchain is going to be public for everybody to see. But if it were private, that's not going to be something that everybody's going to be able to see. Is that, what do you think about that, Arman?
Yeah, that's
pretty simple.
Simple, yeah. But if it's a hybrid, then of course it can be, data will be viewable to the public as well. And if some part of the data we wanted to make it secure, should not be available to the public, we can control that part as well. So that's the advantage, one of the advantage of having hybrid blockchain.
Yeah, perfect. Hey, Rena is very intuitive, or she's very inquisitive, and she continues to ask us questions on these broadcasts. By the way, Rena, thank you for doing that. And she's asking a question here: is the data used by all airlines at all airports, or for what purposes? Can you help us understand, Arman, is that, how is the data used? Who uses it? Who has access to it?
Well, it is like, let's say Emirates airline, if they need to see their last 1 week performance, or if they wanted to see the total like history of their past performances. They can take the real data. Of course, they will be having their own flight plan also with them, but they need this from us also, just to validate their data, and then they can plan further, like on which date and time the next in the airport that traffic flow is less, so they can arrange or they can schedule their flights accordingly. So it helps for them to improve their requirements actually.
Now, Arman, at the beginning, when you did an introduction with us, you said you were in a group called Fast Time Simulation. And
Yes.
I wanted you to explain to us watching is that I guess you have real data and simulation data. Can you dig in a little bit deeper and tell us what you're doing internally with that data and how you're using that to help operations?
We collect the live data. Let's say we'll take last 1 week air traffic, air movement complete on the airport and on the air as well. And then if we wanted to do any expansion on the airport, or if you wanted to close any specific runway, or if you want to do any expansion within the airport as well, we take that last 1 week data or 2 week data, and then we build the model. And after building the model, we import that real traffic, which has actually was done last week or last 2 weeks. And after that, we rerun that simulation with that new changes. And if after applying these things, we figure out like we will get more throughput, we'll get more like user experience. So if this is good, like if that change is good, we go ahead with that change to deploy also on a real time also. So that's how we evaluate. Let's say if you wanted to apply any new change before going to the live, first we test that change virtually, and if it goes well, then we go for the live as well. And after that, once we'll go online, then we take that operational data again, and then we see we simulated it with these numbers, and after going live, this is the variation. Because of course that can come, the variation can come, but we can reduce that variation in the future simulations as well.
So I think I'm understanding and getting it now. So basically you're capturing operational data, you're capturing schedule, aircraft movement, on the ground, in the air, all that kind of data. And then what you're doing is if someone wants to make a change, is that you're doing simulations of that to understand what the impact of it would be. Like if you wanted to change routes, route structures, movement of aircraft, things like that. And so before you make changes that could have a positive or an adverse impact to the system, you're doing simulations on it to ensure that that's understood, based on real data. Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, that's true. That's the same.
Okay, well, very good. That's very interesting. It's very good. Hey, I wanted to dig into something I saw recently because I wanted to ask you to help me understand it a little bit. I saw in the news that it's been maybe 3 weeks ago right now that many of you know who LexisNexis is. And LexisNexis is a company which publishes data. They're famous for publishing data for legal data and insurance data and a lot of other different kinds of data. And I noticed that they have a product which focuses on aviation data. And 3 weeks ago, they announced that they were now publishing this data onto the blockchain. And they just briefly said that they were publishing this data and they were using Chainlink and Avalanche in order to be able to optimize, this published data solution. And so I thought it was really very interesting because here we're talking about Dubai Air Navigation Services, who is doing this, kind of data and analysis. And then we have a company, LexisNexis, who's publishing that data, similar data onto the blockchain. And I wanted to dig in a little bit. And I wanted for people that might have run across a story like that to a little bit understand it. And Gabe, I thought maybe you could just probe into that a little bit and ask Arman a few questions, and maybe we could go back and forth and understand how a solution like that might work or be advantageous. But I'm just going to turn it over to you for a second, Gabe.
About that, we talked a little bit about Chainlink in our previous broadcast, but pretty much Chainlink, right, is a blockchain oracle that connects. It's pretty much on-chain code and off-chain infrastructure are connected. So Chainlink is able to provide information from off-chain infrastructure and bring it onto the blockchain and cross blockchains and through a decentralized oracle network. And I just want to ask Arman just some terminology. What exactly, can you describe what an oracle is for us really quick?
Basically, it's like a database or data which you manage and arrange your like. Let's say we have unarranged data and we wanted to store and organize it. So Oracle help us to arrange and organize that data and then manage it accordingly, as per the rules, whatever rules and regulation will be defined.
So hey, just a second, Gabe, if I understand it correctly, an Oracle is like a controlling entity that manages the data. Is that correct? Do I got that right? It's like when I watched the old video game Tron, we had the MCP that was managing, the data, right? The Oracle manages the data. All right. Okay. I got it. All right. Keep going, Gabe. Sorry.
Yeah. So and through Chainlink, through the decentralized Oracle network, they have thousands of nodes. And through these nodes, you can be running these nodes. I believe LexisNexis is now going to be operating a node. And once again, let's talk about what exactly a node is. Arman, can you also describe what a node is really quick for our viewers that don't know what that is?
See, node is basically a technical term we can call in the computer space or in the blockchain world. We call node is a computer or a machine who participate in the mining, and then they help to create a blockchain, because blockchain is basically a combination of blocks. Information is created in the blocks and then it's stored one after another. So these nodes are basically helping to solve that block, and then they are just putting these blocks on a place, and then they are just creating the blockchain. So basically, they are like a working machines who help to create a blockchain.
For validations, right?
Yeah, for validation, definitely.
Right. So pretty much, I think what the main thing of Chainlink is bringing that off-chain data onto the blockchain and able to bridge from any input pretty much to any output.
Yeah.
Now, I also saw in the article I read, though, that they were using Avalanche and Chainlink. And if I understand, those things correctly, those are both layer one blockchains. And I'm not certain why you would be using two layer one blockchains. Arman, do you have an opinion or input on that?
Well, honestly, there are many blockchains, and of course, it depends on the features and requirements, which one you wanted to use. Let's say if you see the first blockchain who provide these smart contracts execution features, that's Ethereum. But they did not choose on it because in Ethereum, you can process 15 transactions per second. So that's the capacity of the Ethereum. If you go with the Chainlink process 50,000 transactions per second, and their fees also is very less. And if you talk about Avalanche, they are processing 4,500 transactions per second. So I think Chainlink is going to win this thing. So that's why they have chosen Chainlink as well. Plus Avalanche also they have targeted.
Yeah. Okay. And, one of the reasons we bring these things up, everybody watching, is that I want people to become more and more familiar with terminology. I was a, blockchain, newbie 3 years ago, and I really didn't know anything about it or any terminology. And so I paused these guys to have them explain terminology, because I want you to, understand things as we're going forward. And you might think, well, a node, that's pretty simple terminology, but hey, from my days of computing, it was a server, or it was a, desktop computer, or it was a virtual machine, or it was, a virtual workspace, and now when we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about nodes. But if I understand you correctly, we're not just talking about a server, we're talking about, a node, and it has additional functions, which we've described a little bit. And that's really good. Hey, listen, I think another thing that keeps coming up too is that why use one blockchain over another? And Gabe, in some of our previous discussions, you talked about, methods of authentication. We talked about, Arman, you said authentication, but Gabe, there's a couple different methods of authentication. Can we bring that up and talk about that maybe?
Yeah, so the two main consensuses, I believe, would be proof of work and proof of stake, right? Proof of work would be things like Bitcoin and Ethereum at the moment, and proof of stake would be Avalanche or lots of other blockchains, Cardano, using those type of things. But once again, we're going to define what these things are. Arman, can you explain more in detail what exactly proof of work would be, or proof of stake?
Proof of work is like because these nodes, as we know, these nodes are working to solve the puzzle. So it's like they are, when they are getting transactions, these transactions they have to encrypt and decrypt, and then they have to process the transactions as well. So it's like there are multiple things which they have to do, And in proof of work consensus algorithm, what they have to do, they have to solve that puzzle and try to find out the nonce value, which is random number, and that shows this node has done the mathematical puzzle properly, and they find out the solution of these transactions, and they are able to solve, and they are able to post this block on the blockchain. So that's called proof of work. Whereas in proof of stake, it's like if someone having more stake, it's based on the voting power. So if you are having more stake onto the blockchain in the mining space, you will be getting more power to vote the transaction, and that transaction will be solved and posted on the blockchain more efficiently. So it's like if you have more stake, you'll be able to process it more quickly.
You know, we've had a lot of people that have been watching this broadcast that are really subject matter experts, and they've told me that they would be interested in, you know, maybe holding some classes or things like that, or helping do some training or education. Arman being one of them. And you know, the thing is that a lot of times this stuff seems like it's really confusing if you're new to it, and if you've been around it for a long time, you know, you're asking a lot more difficult questions. I had a long LinkedIn messaging conversation with another blockchain expert, I think on Friday, and he said we really need some more depth, you know, in some of this. And so, you know, hang with us as we move forward. We're going to continue to get deeper and deeper. This is only week 2. That's part of it. Hey, we've had a few more people joining us. We have guests from South America, from Latin America. I really appreciate it when we have people join from all around the world. It's pretty exciting. For some reason, I've had a lot of people following from Sao Paulo, and I think maybe it's because of the work I did in the past with Gol and with Embraer and a number of other airlines down there, with Azul and some others. And a lot of really very interesting work was being done down there. You know, just a little interesting fact is, I'd mentioned in one of our previous broadcasts that in the United States, it was recorded that about 19% of the people in the US held cryptocurrency. And in Europe, it was somewhere around, I think it was around mid-30s% or something like that. And in Latin America, as many as 51% of the people there had actually used cryptocurrency for transactions. And so, you know, different parts of the world, there's adoption rates that are moving faster. And I really think that for those of us that are watching here today, that we really need to keep an eye on this technology and where things are going, and you know, what we can be doing. Hey, listen, I designate Mondays as Ideation Monday, okay? And so I want to focus on innovation. And one of the reasons I asked Arman to come on is because they've been looking at innovative ways to solve their data problems by considering things, you know, like blockchain. I wanted to give Arman sort of an opportunity to be able to tell us, Arman, what are some of the innovative or some of the new ideas maybe that you have of ways that blockchain can be applied, you know, in our industry today?
Specifically in air navigation services, if you apply blockchain, like flight messaging system, which is currently we are following the old way. If we apply blockchain, it will be more efficient, because everybody, like all airlines and all, they'll be able to track the flight information on time and without someone else interference. So it's like the core purpose of the blockchain is removing the third parties from the between. So it's like directly you can interact, you can get the data, and the key thing is security. So there are no third parties, but still your data is secure, intact. There's no change, and it's valid, authentic. So you can use it. So that's the key thing. So that's why if that's the first place. If you use in that segment, we can use it. Or else, if you talk about during the airport, saving digital identity. Let's say if any passenger is traveling, and if we store their digital identity, and if you use that identity on their baggage while they're boarding pass and all across the airport, it will save a lot of time. Plus, the passenger transition will be more smoother and easy. And the same tag, if it's been used on baggages as well, for the passengers, it will be easy for them to claim and to identify currently where is their baggage, and they'll be able to identify the exact place. So it will be much easier for them to manage as well.
You know, Arman, let's take that for a second, because I think that's really a great example when you talk about luggage or talk about baggage. All right, because you know, you think about it, is that we have all kinds of interline transfers that occur, and we move baggage from airline to airline and from airport to airport. And I personally have a number of times had my baggage be lost and maybe my ticket was booked on one airline and it was transferred to my baggage was transferred to another airline. And it's very difficult to track the luggage or the baggage, the lost baggage, when it moves from location to location. And I would assume that if we were publishing this data to a blockchain and making it more readily available, that we could have broader access to the data and making information about luggage and its movement, easier to track. Does that make sense?
Yes, and the main thing is it will be fully transparent. So passengers also will get to know, other authorities also will get to know what is the status. So it's much easier.
Yeah, my worst case scenario is I flew to Orlando one time and my bag was lost. And by the time it showed up a week and a half later, we saw that it had actually gone to Lima, Peru, and then somewhere in the U.S. and then back out to Seattle, Washington. And it was actually quite difficult to find it. And I presumed that if we would have had some publicly available data that was published on a blockchain, that maybe it would have been easier to find that. So as far as new ideas are concerned, I think these are great new ideas that make sense. Hey, we also have somebody joining us from Bellevue, Washington. Sheila, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. I like to continue to recognize people when they jump in. Hey, if any of you have questions out there, we just have a few minutes left here in our broadcast today that we're going to be talking about a couple of different things. So you have an opportunity to throw some questions in the comment box, and we'll do our best to be able to try to answer them. Hey, Arman, let me ask you this: is that what are some of the challenges or obstacles that we have in implementing a blockchain in the industry today? What gets in our way today?
Well, previously, even now also, the first biggest challenge is resources. And second, of course, if there is any new technology or if there is any change, that's very often, you will feel resistance from the community as well. So these two elements actually push down the blockchain to be implemented. But now, if you talk about current age, there are many programming languages are introduced. Like Solidity was the first. With using that, you can develop smart contracts, and you can have your own contract, and then you can use it. So it's like we were able to do it. But after that, now Rust, Viper, Mist, Golang, many programming languages also came. Plus, there are many strong and good frameworks also. Using that frameworks, we can develop blockchain-based applications more efficiently or more fast, quickly. Like Truffle is one of them, or Embark. So we can use them and we can develop blockchain-based applications. So these were the challenges in past, but now it's sorted out. So hopefully in the coming time, you'll see many applications will be coming with the help of this Web3 and blockchain, because they are evolving day by day.
Yeah, you said one of the main obstacles that we have is resources, and one of the things that we need to do is we need to continue to do a good job of developing business cases. And if we have good business cases which prove out, the value, the return, that we get from that, whether it be from a safety standpoint or a quality standpoint or from a financial standpoint, we need to develop good, solid business cases. That's one of the reasons why I tried to include on Wednesdays my broadcasts. I try to focus on what are the business cases for implementing. Mondays are ideas, so we're throwing around new ideas today. On Wednesdays, we're trying to drill down into, what's the value, of implementing. Hey, let me ask you this: is that of the different companies that you've worked at, Arman, have you seen resistance to implementing of new technology? Is that something that also gets in our way?
Yeah, sometimes it comes definitely, because if there is any change and against that change, you will see many people will come and they'll say, okay, maybe there will be some. Actually, they are not against the technology, but they are fearful because that new change which they are going to bring in, will it be positive or going to be the other side? Because they are not sure, and that technology or that framework which are going to apply, it's not mature yet. So that was the key reason, because aviation is very safe industry and we need to make this the safest, because it's very critical. So that's why we did not implement anything unmature. But blockchain, if you see, it's been more than 10 years and it's around us, and it's getting mature day by day. So now I think now it's the right time to apply it.
Yeah, it's moving faster and faster. Gabe, do you have any follow-up questions for Arman?
Not right now. No.
Okay, great. Well, good.
That's all I got. Yeah,
exactly. All right. Well, listen, Arman, let me ask you this final question then, if I could, is that with the age of blockchain and the new technologies we have, what's the most exciting thing for you moving forward? What excites you about where we're going with this kind of technology?
Basically, all these development and things which we are doing it's all just to be a better human beings, and we are trying to help to the community as much as we can. So that's like a part of our ongoing efforts, so which will help us to shape a new, advanced, and sustainable and better community. So that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah, that's really good. I concur with that. One of the things I always like to say, and I'm just going to say this, is that I believe that transportation and air transportation in the world we're in today connects people. All right, and
Yes.
If we can provide a better environment to connect people, we can have a much more connected world. And as people and human beings, we desire to connect with people. And isn't it amazing on how things like digital and video conferencing and live broadcasts like this allow us to be able to connect with people? I mean, here we are, we're actually doing a broadcast all around the world here from 3 different locations, from Dubai and from Seattle, Washington, and from Florida. And it's just amazing that we can connect. And air transportation is one way that we can connect. And so what excites me is the ability to be able to help make it more efficient and make it easier to connect. So that's what I'm looking forward to as we go forward into the future.
Yes.
Hey, gentlemen, I wanted to thank you for joining the broadcast today. And I'll just say that up and coming on Wednesday, we have our broadcast at the same time, which is 12 o'clock on Eastern time and 1600 GMT. And our guest is going to be from Emirates, also going to be from the Dubai area. And we'll be talking about customer service and some of the new ideas of application of blockchain in the customer service world. So I wanted to invite you to join us for that session on Wednesday. Arman, thank you for bringing your expertise today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah, good. And Gabe, I appreciate your young blood being brought in. People like to see some young faces in our broadcast. Right. And so I appreciate you being here and bringing your blockchain knowledge. All of you out there watching today, thanks for joining. And I look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday as we talk about business cases and customer service and blockchain and customer service. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great day. Fair winds and following seas to you.